Live. We are live. Okay.
All
So,
right.
everyone, it's a Saturday night, and for some of you out that are out partying, you'll have to see this tomorrow after you're home or on a Sunday. I'm here with Drew, and I'm Jacob Adams. Today we'll be talking about Stoicism. Drew knows a little bit more about that. Drew, what can you tell us? We were talking about it. You said, you know what? I really want to talk about Stoicism. I'm like, wait, what is Stoicism? I was like, wait, just tell me. Let's get on the show and talk about it then. So because I know nothing about it, I think it's like sounds like a philosophy.
It is a philosophy. Um, okay, so well, I want to start out by I know we're going on the internet, and there are probably a million people who know way more about Stoicism than I do. So this is probably meant more as an introduction, just as a caveat, because I haven't, I've just been getting into it. And it's really interesting to me, but I'm not an expert yet. Um, anyway, Stoicism is it's kind of a type of philosophy, and there's like a dictionary definition, and there's you know, the way that you think of it, you can interpret it however you want to. But basically, the way that I interpret it that helps me the most for my life is that there is never anything bad that happens to you in your life. And it's kind of based off of that, like the way that I see it right now is that it's kind of based off of that philosophy that nothing, everything that happens to you in your life doesn't necessarily happen to you for a reason. I mean, it could if that's your model of reality, but that nothing, none of it is bad. So you have something to gain from everything, um, and uh, you could use it in anything. So name something bad that's happened in your life.
Well, I think one of the common ones is breakups. A breakup can sometimes be pretty sad, or we can all sort of agree that it's pretty, it's challenging.
Right. Okay. So a breakup. Um, uh, and of course, there's going to be things specific to your unique breakup, but it's always a growing opportunity. You always have the opportunity to, um, meet new people. Like, obviously, if you did break up, then you weren't soulmates, right? Something didn't work out. It's an opportunity to, um, to learn more. Um, uh, and it might be hard, but you're gaining skills. You're getting the skills of being able to, uh, let's see, how do I word this? Um, you're getting the skills to be able to frame um, your reality. Does that make sense in the context of a breakup?
Okay, so what you're saying is, I right away, as soon as you said that, what you said, it reminded me of the neurolinguistic programming lesson that I learned. It was, there are no mistakes, just feedback. There are no mistakes, just feedback.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That goes right in line with it. Um,
What I
and
mean, it's
stoicism kind of
I
takes a
love the
little.
stoicism thing, Drew. I love it, the NLP thing, and I love even the fact that the whole thing with, when I read that line, I was like, wow, before I read this book, I thought I had made mistakes. It turns
Mhm.
out I have not. It turns out
There
I
are.
haven't made one. All I have is feedback.
Um, and it kind of goes a little bit farther, saying that basically, if you ever feel a bad emotion, it's an error in your judgment. That's all it is. That you judge something wrong. You judge something to be something that it wasn't.
And
Um,
that's of that's sort of the challenge, right? That's one of the main drives is to, if you're an entrepreneur, I know that me and you, we both want to be continuously growing in our entrepreneur field. Okay,
right.
I know we're both writers, and we both want to grow in that aspect, and we consistently have to face our inner critics, these inner little struggles that we
Absolutely.
go through, like, Am I a good writer? Are people actually going to read this? You know, it's a Saturday
Definitely.
night. I'm writing while people are out having fun, you know, and I think that that's where you have to sort of be in control of that mental
Hmm.
chatter, that mental turmoil.
Right. It's about, well, there's a book, like I recently got into it because I read the book The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And I recommend everyone read that book. I think it's a perfect guideline for life. It's amazing. Um,
The perfect obstacle?
it's called The Obstacle is the Way. And what that means is that whenever you encounter an obstacle in your life, that's the way to go. That's life telling you, well, you now have to develop the skills to get past this obstacle. Um, Anything bad that happens, now that you had that happen to you, you have an advantage over everyone else that didn't happen to you. That didn't happen to them. Does that make sense? Yeah. Um, I mean, uh, and there's a misconception of the word stoic to mean emotionless. I think where people get that is that when they look at this ancient Stoic philosophies of like Epictetus and um, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, they were all of the ancient Stoics, and uh, what am I saying? Oh yeah, so they really only wrote about the problems in their lives, and it kind of got translated in that way. You know, it kind of got like, well, this is a problem, you shouldn't feel bad about it. This is a problem, you shouldn't feel bad about it. But didn't necessarily say to feel happy because they didn't really need to, because they didn't need to like keep reminding themselves to be happy. I mean, it's like you don't like sit there and write a note like remember to smile today. Remember that food tastes good, you know? It's like duh, you just you focus on the things that you need to improve on, which is why um, stoicism has kind of gotten misinterpreted in that way. But um, it's a very good guidelines for life. I mean, you have Marcus Aurelius, for example, who was the most powerful man alive. He was the emperor of Rome, one of the um, Rome was the most powerful regime ever in history, and he had all the power in the world. He was the most powerful man in the world at this time, and he spent his free time just writing down these little tidbits about life, and what he learned, the lessons that he learned about being a better human, which is awesome. You know, he could have done anything with his time. He could have gotten away with rape. He could have, done whatever he wanted to, and he chose to do that,
He was a
which is
philosopher.
really cool. What's that?
He was a philosopher.
Yeah, he was a philosopher and a Roman emperor, which is pretty impressive. It's a pretty impressive resume. Um, and yeah, he has a book called Meditations that I recommend. He doesn't, I mean, he's not alive anymore, but he wrote a book called Meditations. There's some really great stuff in there, some motivating stuff. I recommend everyone read that too if they're interested in just finding a better paradigm for their life. Um, it'll just give you the right tools to view everything, really.
So
You.
how correlated is neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which you and I both know Tony Robbins is into, a lot of the successful-minded
Mhm.
mentors of today, they're into NLP. How closely linked is NLP to Stoicism?
Okay. Not that closely linked. NLP is by its nature something pretty different from Stoicism. Stoicism is like the paradigm that you put in place in the world. It's a philosophy, and NLP is it's something entirely different. I don't even know what category it's in. It's not a philosophy though. It's a
NLP is
practice.
like a scientific breakdown, right? Like a psychology meets the way
Yeah,
the brain
it's like a
works.
hybrid kind of. I mean, a lot of people criticize it, but they're just kind of being way too academic, in my opinion. And yeah, NLP is useful in its own right, but Stoicism is like and they overlap a little bit, but Stoicism is like it's the paradigm to have if you want to be anything, you know, accomplished, in my opinion. I think that people who
So you really like
establish great
Stoicism.
things, whether
Stoicism
they
is
know
something
it
you
or not.
study. You actually implement Stoicism. You actually are engaging with the philosophy and trying to implement it.
Right. That's another thing, is that Stoicism is eminently practical, and it's the only philosophy I know of that is. Because and here's the thing, is that like I took philosophy as a college class for one of my general ed credits, and I thought I would like it, but I didn't like it at all. And the reason for that is that it just goes so like unnecessarily deep to me that it's like you can't even use any of this stuff for your life, you know? And I think I heard Ryan Holiday talk about how college professors don't they don't talk about Stoicism, and it's because it's not very open to interpretation. um, and yeah, it's the most useful form of philosophy there is. So you can be a person of action and you can be a philosopher at the same time. Um, and it's not a contradiction at all. It's actually pretty cool. Completely directly applicable to your life. That's the other thing. Um, which is awesome. I mean, if you look at all the great people throughout history, all the entrepreneurs, all of um, the you know, people who did anything awesome. Thomas Edison. I mean, we all know like the whole thing about how he tried hundreds of different filaments in
So
his light bulb before he
in a
found it.
way, you're sort of saying it's the philosophy that isn't necessarily NLP, and NLP has something that is sort of gained from Stoicism. Whether
I
NLP
think
ever
there
met
are.
Stoicism.
I'll say it this way. I think that there are Stoic philosophies in NLP, but
Hmm.
I don't think that NLP. I think NLP is something more than Stoicism. NLP goes. It kind of draws from a bunch of different things. It draws
So
from
what is
psychology.
NLP? I mean, see, look, in my experience, NLP, and by the way, Stoicism I like a lot. I really like what you're saying, and I think it's almost like a be positive attitude. Like see what is not, see what you're ignoring. Okay, so sure, you went through like the breakup. Okay,
Mhm.
but maybe you, like you said, that wasn't your soulmate, or that you weren't meant to be long term. That's okay. Let it go. Don't be so caught up in the negative aspect of it.
Yeah, and now you have the opportunity to develop your skills even more,
Right.
um,
And
and
so
meet
this
someone
other
you
thing,
might not have otherwise.
yeah. And then NLP, I mean, Anthony Robbins, we were hearing him, I was listening to him talk yesterday with Joe Polish,
Hmm.
and that was really cool. He said he's gonna feed 50 million people this, like 50 million people in 1 year, or I don't know, something crazy for
Oh,
like
with
things.
his new book?
Yeah, he's actually gonna give all of the money
Yeah,
to
I heard that.
charity. He's gonna give all the proceeds of his book, his new book, to charity, to people.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
awesome.
and so that really spurred me. We had talked about putting this show on, you and me, before I heard that, but the
Yeah.
second I heard that, and I'm sure Anthony Robbins has been mentored you on some tips, and then myself as
Hmm.
well. But when he said, you got to find a way to bring value to people, the more people you bring value to, and at higher qualities, the better. At higher degrees, the better. And the more valuable you become. And I know that we're going to talk about that a little bit on this show. So going into NLP, what do you think about that? NLP, bringing value to people. I know they're separate, but what is your experience with NLP? With me, it seems like NLP is that the model for success. In other words, if you see somebody saying, you know what, I made a perfect example was Tim Ferriss. He made the 4 hour cook, the 4 hour chef. I learned how to braise lamb, and I learned to eat a great dinner. You could pair some teas and stuff, because he hits on that principle of focusing on the 20% that makes 80% of the difference, and you're going to get better results because you're replicating his key points, the key points. So he kind of breaks it down in a NLP type fashion. I think Ferris's method of teaching is very NLP. What do you think about that?
Um, I think it has elements of NLP to it. Tim Ferriss, just Ferriss, or you're talking about you talk. uh, So you lost me with that. You're
Okay,
asking
well,
if Tim Ferriss's methods are more NLP based?
yeah. Do you know about Tim Ferriss's methods? Like, are you familiar with his
Yeah, I
methods?
do. I'm very familiar.
So you know his way of breaking down things, like the.
The 80/20 rule, the minimal effective dose, things like that.
Hmm.
Um,
It seems very NLP to me.
I'm not sure if he got that from NLP. I know that the 80/20 rule has been around for a while in business.
That's Pareto.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, the minimal effective dose, I don't know that I don't know if that comes from NLP. That's just something that seems to make sense, you know. Um, and Tim Ferriss has been extremely good at doing that stuff. I think that Tim Ferriss is just a huge geek, and he just knows so much, and
Yeah.
he's so efficient at figuring out the best ways to do things. I don't know
Right.
if that came from NLP though.
So do you have any experience with
NLP is more
NLP?
like internal. It's not as much, you know.
Cool. Do you have any experience with NLP, Drew, or not really?
Yeah, I've done a lot of, well, I've read a lot about NLP in the past, and I've used it on myself for a good, soon down the road. Actually, that would be cool.
Yeah, the I really see a difference with NLP in the terms in ways of like it starts with the simple things as the words you say. It's as simple as when you say I'm never gonna get this versus I haven't gotten this yet. As simple
Mhm.
as understanding that you should not say the word never. You have to say it's not quite there, and that begins a process of changing. Even when people
Right,
say I can't afford it versus how do I afford it? So
right.
these
Your
questions,
unconscious mind will start figuring it out, you know? Yeah.
in many ways, then you could say that the subconscious mind and tapping into it is sort of a luxury or that is it's almost like a secret that is within us. Like people
It
don't
is.
really realize that it's there, but it's there.
Yeah, definitely. Um, it totally is. So, right. One of the things that you're touching on there, like when people say I can't, or um, when they say, or when you say like, why am I blank? Like, why am I so lazy? If you ask that to yourself, then your brain will start looking for reasons why it's so lazy. Your subconscious mind, that is. Um, Instead of asking why am I so lazy, you ask yourself, how can I get to be, you know, productive or whatever, whatever you want to be. And then your subconscious mind will start going to work to um, figure out how to get you to be more productive. Uh, and that's been huge, I think, in my life. I stopped asking myself all those questions, like all those kind of self-defeating questions that are like, oh, why am I this? Why am I so fat? Oh, it'll just your brain will start looking for reasons why you're so fat. Be like, oh, I'm eating too much all the time. I just have this eating thing, um, you know, uh, or I
Yeah.
can't lose, whatever.
Okay, so what would be one of the questions that you do use today to actually break through some of the stuff that may hold you back? Okay, so I know that we're two writers, right? The reason we label this show Two Writers is we're both writing and we're like, well, how do we get our writing out there? And I said, well, you know what? That was the question. How do we get our writing out there? As
Right,
opposed to
right,
saying sitting at home, oh, poor me, my writing is not really reaching people. It's like, well, you got to just
right,
share it. You got to just get out there and connect, give the hashtags, give it away, do what you got to do to get that writing out there versus saying, you know what, it's not going to happen. You have to ask, how am I going to do that?
right. Definitely.
Meditate, meditation. Do you use meditation to tap into
I
anything
do. I love
greater
meditation.
within yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I love meditation. Visualizations, meditation, and like a lot of the internal NLP exercises could kind of go hand in hand for me. Um, I I see them as very similar. Um, there was one exercise I know that I learned from Neil Strauss, where you visualize yourself in a movie theater, uh, and you're watching like maybe a moment of your life that was like really embarrassing on the screen, or a moment of your life that makes you feel insecure, something bad is happening, and it's a method of reframing it. So you're in the third person perspective on the movie, in the movie chair, and you're watching this movie of your life or whatever, this particular moment on the screen, and you rewind it, and then you make it go in black and white, and you can do all these things to it, and then add certain things like maybe someone offended you or someone made fun of you at a certain point in your life. It could be your childhood or like your recent life, whatever, and you can replay that scene, um, and picture them with big ears, goofy face, um, you know, uh, and anything to make them look like the nut job or the wacko, and get it to the point where you're actually laughing at them. Someone who used to make you feel, it's laughing at them, and it's a good way of reframing those negative experiences that can have a really bad lasting impression on you. Um, and you know, whatever, you can add silly circus music to it or whatever too if you want. Uh, so yeah, that was one of my favorites, the NLP.
I got
I
you.
really like I-axis and Qs too.
What's
I don't know.
that?
I could talk about this forever, but I really like the. Have you ever heard of the I-axis and Qs?
The I-axis and cues?
Yeah. So whenever anyone thinks of something, um, they're thinking of um, their eyes are going to go to the part of their brain that they're thinking of, right?
So if they go to the
So,
right, is that well, the right is said to be creative.
right,
So that are you saying when they go to the right, it's a creative aspect, and they go to the left, that's a logical?
right, and it's useful for telling when people are lying, because you can say, because if they're saying something that's supposed to be recalling, which would be left is recalling information,
Hmm.
but they're looking to the right and they're making up information, then you can tell they're lying. Um, Additionally, you can tell their thinking processes too. This goes into NLP when, like, if they're looking up, it's visual. To the side is auditory, and down is emotional or kinesthetic.
Hmm.
Um, and so, like, up and to the right is, you know, formulating in visual. Left and the right is recalling visual, things like that. That's why when you ask people for dates, not for dates like on a date, but when you're planning out a date,
Hmm.
people will usually look up and to the left because they're looking at a calendar.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, some of this stuff is pretty cool. Uh, Even today, as I sat at a coffee shop, one of the things that I got from a lot of my training, whether it's NLP, reading body language, and stuff like this, is almost the ability to sort of see the entire matrix sort of playing without you and not necessarily having to engage with it. It's almost like, and yet sometimes when you feel that, some people might feel alienation, like, oh, I'm not connected. Whereas then if you can sort of choose to turn off, you can sort of be an observer that sort of it's sort of permeating through your consciousness, and it
Hmm.
doesn't really need you there,
Right.
but you're there. So it's a very you're probably still affecting the environment because it's difficult not to. However, it's almost like a domino thing where you're not so much putting in energy into the environment and affecting as much as if you, let's say, if you become withdrawn, for example, and emotionally connected because or reacting to the stimulus,
Hmm.
you're sort of, even though you're not receiving any benefit from it, you are in fact engaging with that environment. Does that make any sense? Because
Right.
it's affecting you, because it's affecting you negatively or
Definitely.
positively.
Hmm. Yeah, that's huge in becoming non-reactive. I remember Evan Pagan used to say um, to um, hold or like cultivate the pause in between the stimulus and your response to the stimulus, and your this response in your head to the stimulus. So cultivate the pause, in order to become non-emotionally reactive, which is just awesome information. To just like that's just the first step in being able to control your actions is to be able to say, like, you know, something happens and then you just practice pausing without any reaction to that. And from there you can, insert your thoughts and like, figure it out more logically instead of going on knee-jerk reactions like most of the people in the world do.
Drew, what are some challenges that the average person may actually have? Let's say our viewer, let's say, everyone's got different challenges, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Someone's been married, 70 years, there are different challenges. Someone's been in a relationship for 2 weeks. If you're a college student, it's different than if you're a millionaire entrepreneur. Everyone has different
Yeah.
challenges. So how could Stoicism actually help the average person that may watch this show or encounter this link on YouTube? How do we actually bring value to them? Because I know that that's one of our main concerns is bringing
Right.
value, right? And the importance of bringing true value. Because I think for people like us, we know these subjects so well or well enough that
Hmm.
we kind of know it's not something you can sort of just grab. You can't just drink it like a coffee and be like, I have coffee now. There's sort of progressive things that sort of have to cultivate within you and slowly practice them, and then over years, literally over years, they start really being there for your silent partners and things. How can we
Hmm.
bring value to the viewers and, connect this stoicism concept? What are some great ways for them to get involved with it and know that they are some measures to say, yeah, Drew told me that this is stoicism, and I could tell by the measures that he explained that I'm actually using this philosophy to my benefit.
Hmm. Okay. Well, it's hard to, I mean, any situation that you're in, anyone, any life that you have, unless you're awesome, unless you're like Dan Bilzerian. Um,
I don't know who he is.
you know who he is? He's like this millionaire, and he has a bunch of hot chicks. You have to add him on Facebook. You look at his page. It's crazy. But anyway, he has like the best life ever. Is what I'm saying. Um, Most people in their lives though have problems, and if you have a problem, um, it really there's no productivity in feeling bad about it. Just you have to like understand deeply at the core of who you are that feeling bad about yourself and about a problem, the only reward that you get from that is like a drug. It's like a hit, have you ever gotten like that hit of pity where like maybe you feel bad and then you just give yourself some pity and you're like, oh, poor me, and you're like the little um, victim, and it gives you like just a hit of pity, and you might feel better a little bit because it's like a drug. It's like getting a hit of heroin.
It's such an abstract. I've been so into the winning mindset, and you could say
Yeah.
stoicism for many years. Feeling bad for myself. I think it's sort of like a victim thing to do. I think I will feel bad for myself if I truly think it's to my benefit to say, you know what, you really got to reevaluate the situation, Jacob, and this is not healthy for you. You really got to take a look at this. You need to address that
Mhm.
this is potentially bad for you, and you got to stop and feel some pain here. Like I actually have to sort of tell myself, feel bad right now because
Oh, it's
it's
okay to
probably
feel
healthy for
bad.
you
It's
to
okay to
feel.
feel pain. It's okay to feel bad. Um, it's not okay to wallow in it, is what I'm saying.
Yes, when that is.
Does
How
that
do you?
sense?
What's a good measure between grieving healthily and wallowing for?
Mm.
Like I know what you're saying. You're saying there's a difference. It's like, so psychologists say you have to go through a grieving period when you lose things. When you lose something, whether the
Right.
relationship went bad, whether the business deal went bad, you have to sort of grieve it out. Like, just give yourself a little time to grieve. But how do you know when you're grieving and then, or when you're wallowing, just sort of buy some time to sort of be lazy about it? When do you know?
You know, um, sorry, you're like the video is not caught up with your voice, and it kind of distracted me for a second. But uh, you know when that's actually a tough question. Um, Basically, you have to be able to become a clear and unbiased thinker. Um, because what that does is allow you to um, understand the big picture. You know, my contention is that like you can feel bad about it. You can be like, oh man, you can reflect on it. But the minute that you think you deserve anything for it, like the minute that you think that like you're entitled to anything, and not in a bad way. This is tough for me to explain because it's a really good question and it might be a subtle difference. Um, hmm. Huh. It's that poor me mentality, you know? You can you can say like, oh man, some crazy shit has been happening to me recently, and that's just, but if you chalk it up to life, if you just chalk it up to like, all right, and such is life, and I'm going to carry on, and I'm probably going to learn something from it, so it's not all bad. Versus, poor me, my life is so bad. Just constantly being like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. That's not healthy, and it's not something that anyone should do. And it's a way that you use to get attention. I think that people will use to get attention. Um, from other people and from themselves. It feels better to do that because you don't have to do anything, and you get a hit of it. It's like a drug. It's like you have this emotion coursing through your veins. It's like literally, and they've done studies on this, that it's addictive. Your emotions can be addictive drugs. Um, so it's important that you're not just putting that IV in your arm all the time, and just getting that hit of pity because it'll do you no good, and it'll really form a destructive worldview. It really
Well,
will.
I really like what you said because in many ways that goes back to what we wanted to say is bring value. And so let's say we have we're gonna do our show once a week or
Mhm.
twice a week maybe, whatever.
We'll figure it out.
So what do you think is value? What is value? Because value said, I mean, Walmart has a brand called Great Value, right? And that
Uh-huh.
isn't necessarily the best brand there is, but they're basically so what is this word value? How do we identify it? How do we create it? How do we distribute it? And I think those are the main points because after that, that's really how do we promote it? I guess that's the last question.
Right.
What is it? How do we measure it? How do we create it? How do we distribute it? And how do we promote it? What is this word value? Because it's a buzzword nowadays. It has become a
Right.
buzzword.
Quite a bit. Um, Value to me, I think you have to look. Um, it gets its roots in evolution. Okay. Um, Anything of value is, eh, on the surface, it's something you can use, but if it's common, it's not going to be as of value. There's not going to be as much value attached to it. Um, for example, like aluminum is a useful metal, but gold is worth more, and that's because it's rarer, you know, and diamonds are rarer, I believe. Um,
So the scarcity is a very important aspect to value. Scarcity.
it is. It's one of the aspects of value.
Okay, so it's
Um,
scarcity. So would you say Stoicism, I mean, we kind of got Stoicism plenty, but is Stoicism rare or is Stoicism commonly known? How rare is this concept Stoicism?
It's quite commonly known. I don't know. I don't know who knows it. I mean, there are going to be, you can look up the Wikipedia article and it'll probably give you a lot more in-depth history and definition of Stoicism than I could give you in, 30 minutes to an hour. But I don't think many people live their lives by it. It's rare. It's too bad too because it's a great way to live your life. Um, but I think that if you have a positive outlook like that will make you a person of value. That'll make you a person that is more valuable to other people. Um, because it is so rare. It's rare to have uh, qualities that are so useful in a person. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay. Well, that was one of the things I wanted to bring up in today's show is value. And because Anthony Robbins said, we opened up where they said, if you want to be more valuable, you have to bring more value to people. And Anthony Robbins does that to immense proportions, very high degrees, as to the amount that he actually creates and brings to people. So that's the question. So, okay, so myself, one of the things I've done for years is I've been a trainer, a coach for many athletes, and so the value I brought there was instruction, nutrition information, support, mentorship, the stoicism concept of continuous look at the bright side. So in many ways, I was a teacher and a coach, right? So that
Hmm.
was the value I brought. And so taking what Anthony Robbins said is, and it's part of the reason we're here today, is to bring that value to more people, global, nationwide, globally to the earth, on a very large scale. That's part of the reason we're on here today. So how are we gonna? What do we give? Do you think people want to know about fitness, or what do you think people are gonna want to know about? What are some of the topics that
I think
really
that if
drive
people are watching this, they should comment and tell us
people?
what they want to know about.
Okay,
Um, it depends on who's watching this and who our audience is.
okay. Well, I know a friend may be able to tell me something. Hold on. Let me give me 1 second. Okay, so I asked somebody, what is something that they want to know about. They may respond here in a bit, and we can sort of any question, anything that they want to know value. But let me see. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to cover today was being self-employed. I know that you had some questions on that, like what was that, right? You were telling me, Jacob, what's it like, you have been self-employed for, I don't know, 10 years or something like
Yeah,
that.
so what's your experience in the self-employed entrepreneur world? What?
That's been really fun sometimes, and really challenging. I I hate to say that it's because I'm from a small town, but I think I'm gonna experiment and move to a bigger town in Austin here very soon. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because of the fact that the town is smaller, but it's been very fun though and very challenging at times. Some of the stuff that is great about being self-employed and an entrepreneur is you don't hate what you do. So I don't. When people say things like, I've trained a lot of people, whether you're a plumber, you're a teacher, a nurse, I don't know. It doesn't matter what you do. I've heard some people. I really feel bad for people when they say I hate my job or I can't go to school, or I've had people tell me stuff like I was crying because I knew I had to go to work tomorrow. It's like, damn, that sounds really bad. I mean, that sounds scary. Like I would hate to break down in tears thinking that I have to go to work. So, you know what I mean? I was,
Right, that's a huge benefit of being self-employed then. Um,
yeah, that's been one of them. That I mean, if that also, yeah, go. You were gonna ask something?
what is the hardest thing about being self-employed?
The hardest thing about being self-employed, for me has been there's no stability. Like the same people that are crying about I don't want to go to work, et cetera, they also have far more stability than me. They'll have usually insurance. They'll have like health insurance. They'll have a set salary. They know how much is going to take out for taxes. They know like I'm having to usually look for things like way to get credit, low credit rates. So we talk different languages. My security, I have to get on a limb and look for mentors, look for teachers. Tony Robbins, listen to little tidbits like if Tony Robbins says you need to find out how to create more value and serve more people, that isn't just something I can ignore. That becomes like a mantra, something I repeat over and over. If a mentor says to me, a mentor will tell me, what do you want to create? I'll literally write that question down. I mean, it's right here actually. What do you want to create? And I'll literally ask, even though it's a simple question, I won't simply just say, oh wow, it's asked a cool question, yada yada yada. I'll let the sort of question immerse itself into my subconscious. I'll meditate on it. I'll pray on it. I'll do whatever it takes to really refine that question into a creative process and then eventually a strategy that I can test. So those are some of the things that being an entrepreneur is, where you have all of the power and flexibility to make decisions. However, you rise and fall by those decisions, and there's always a clock timing you, basically saying, I need the work output, I need it now. The bill collector's calling, the mortgage company's calling. You need food on the table. So the clock is the needs. There's always needs having to be met, and that's basically your clock. So I don't know. I think that the price for being in a secure job is you sort of they ask you to sort of numb that part of you that is critically always searching for answers and probing for the new solutions, because it's not needed as much. It's sort of like, here's the protocol, here's the work, chomp down, like just go, go, go. It's sort of served in a buffet. For an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur has to sort of look for the work.
Gotcha. So it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? More self-directed, I guess.
Right. I mean, even this conversation here, our show now, two writers, we have the soul of entrepreneurs, because we could easily say, oh, we're creating value, right? Look at us, we're creating value. We're so cool creating value, but it's not enough. That isn't enough. We have to make sure that we deliver that value, and that our watchers actually walk away from this with a sense of understanding, answers, a question. So, like for example, like I was given the question, what do you want to create, right? And here we are doing this show as part of that. So we can ask our viewers, what do you want to create? And you can write that down. And potentially that one question can lead to this amazing enterprise by them if they apply themselves and stuff like that. It's some of the stuff I'll be talking about in my new book coming out. So I'll tell you all about that next time.
Cool. Awesome. So what do you think? So being self-employed, tell us about what you were self-employed doing for the past 10 years as a personal trainer, right?
Yeah. My main thing has been training. I've been what I do is I'm actually a dream developer. That's the core of what I do, and I've hidden that. Like, that's been my real agenda, is to help develop people's dreams, and I hide that behind training. What I mean by that is I'm ultimately trying to achieve people's dreams. I'm a sculptor. As you can see, it says like the sculptor CEO. So that's what I'm after. Now, people ultimately are going to come at you and sort of say something like, I want to be in better shape, or I want to lose weight. That's, I think, a simple sentence that they're saying. Deep inside, though, I think people want to see themselves beautifully or handsomely or sexy, and that's part of their dream aspect. So I really see myself as someone that sees like is a sculptor of people's dreams or their bodies, and then I've gone into past that to actually help them into finances and stuff like that. But that started off really simple. As of last year, I actually got to help a few people make like $12,000 a year, $10,000 a year, $8,000 a year. That was a great thing when I sort of help people like start with fitness, and then I led them into entrepreneurialism. Like I led them into that sort of self-employed thing, and that process was very, very rewarding. And I feel that the more I do that, it's like that comes from one of my mentors. He said, if you can help, you can have everything in life you want if you help enough people get what they want. And that ties back into what Anthony Robbins says: is bring value. So,
Right.
is that making some
Cool.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Great.
It's like a philosophy and intention, man. There's no the strategies I've played with have been good, but the intention I think is what ultimately keeps you. Like Anthony Robbins said, hunger. Hunger is the one thing that will keep you going. And so I can vouch for that. It's the intention, the growth, that hunger to continuously adapt and evolve. And without that hunger, you could say you probably won't be a successful stoic or stoicism, because you're going to sort of it takes a certain amount of hunger to sort of break through and stay focused and say no, I've got to see this another way. I've
Right.
got to see the light here, and that hunger keeps you going. Where without that hunger, you're going to sort of be like, well, stoicism sounds great, but it's way easier to be a like whiner or something.
Right. Right. I know what you mean. Um,
One of my clients and friends is actually watching today, and she said, "You know what, Jacob? Don't forget to mention that I find that you're a spiritual guide." So she's actually watching right now, so it's kind of cool.
cool. And so that's kind of like the aspect of your spirituality that goes into your um, work right now.
Yeah, I mean, the spiritual thing, that's been something that is not even my agenda, man. I really had no. I think that's sort of, if any man had the agenda that I teach spirituality, it was beyond me. Like that was just some subconscious thing that was planted in me and it just grew,
Right.
or that is God really just working through His miracles to me, because I never really had the intention to be spiritual. I just had the intention to be sincere and honest and accurate and use intellect. So I think I always wanted to bring people like the two hemispheres of humanity, where it's left brain, right brain. Sort of, we have these aspects that sometimes people are like, well, I'm way too spiritual, or they're just really, really spiritual, and they think everything's spirituality. And then people that are like really analytical, and they think everything's got to be broken down to this analyze. I think that,
Mhm.
that balance is sort of where most of us feel comfortable.
Right. Right. I agree. I think that people, most people have a dominant left brain or right brain, but we all have a balance.
Yeah, you think so? You
Do-
think people are typically dominant on one?
Yeah, well, there's in neurology there's a concept called cerebral dominance, where usually like a person's like right hemisphere or left hemisphere of their brain um, will be either um, bigger or smaller than the other one. But then that doesn't happen in some people. They have a lack of dominance, so it's weird. But anyway, neurology is for another day. Uh, what was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, so how you view this is something that I think of when I think of being an entrepreneur is, um, you can be self-employed as an entrepreneur, and there are a lot of people which just means that they're doing a job and they work for themselves. And then you can be like a business owner as an entrepreneur, which is like a business that you built that might only require a little bit of your energy. Um, and that's I think that's ideal for me in my journey to become an entrepreneur, where kind of taking the lead from self-employed to business owner, where you've hired a bunch of people and you have a whole system, and it's like just spitting out money at you, and you put in the minimal work. It's like the 4 hour. Have you ever read 4 Hour Work Week?
Yeah, I've read. Believe it or not, I've read all three of his books.
Yeah, it's a there's some good books, but yeah.
I
So
think,
for
I think me and you have a lot of the same library, man, or at
yeah.
least in the past. Yeah, so yeah, man, I've always wanted what you said, the whole thing about this great big business. I have yet to be able to do it successfully because I don't know fully why. I think I've been caught up in like relationships, slacking off, and working out, and business. It's been a distribution of all my energies. I haven't really maybe been fully connected with the right people, with the right opportunity. Like it hasn't all aligned perfectly where, because what you're saying is pretty awesome, and I think it requires a lot of hunger, man, a lot of discipline, a lot of connections, a lot of something, man. It's not very easy to get. I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the only way to know is to try. I'm coming out with some information products soon with my friend Greg for scientists.
Yeah, what is that
Hopefully
about?
early 2015 we'll be doing that, and I'll let you know how that goes. I think like you should do. I think that you should come out with products. You know that you've been doing this fitness stuff for over a decade now, and you can easily create a product for someone like for example, there's a niche of women who want to lose 20 pounds before their wedding, and you can create a product for that, or create like a class even, or I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but
Hey, man, I'm all good, bro. I have no ego with this anymore.
right.
Anymore is when if I was 23 or something, I probably would think like, don't tell me what to do, like, but I'm beyond my ego, man. I try not to get in the way of I try not to get in the way of stuff. Oh, my friend Diana went ahead and I invited my friend Diana to join the show. Hey, Diana, how are you?
Hey, what's up? I have no idea what I'm doing here. I've never used Hangouts before. Just saying.
Well, my friend Drew. He's from Illinois,
How's it going? Actually, Michigan.
Michigan.
Hold on, because I think if I have you guys on speaker, it's just going to go back and forth. I think I might need headphones.
Right on, right on.
Hi.
Hey, Diana. Hey, Diana.
This is kind of weird, but hi.
Diana is in New York right now.
Yep. New York City.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
this is Drew. Drew, Diana. Diana, Drew.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How do you know this crazy guy?
We met through
A business
an online kind of personal development site. We're both.
Cool.
How do you guys know each other?
I'll let Jacob take that one.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
each other.
Diana, and me go way back. Met at a party, Halloween, and then we became great friends. Started training. My best friends.
Yeah, I think we've touched on every level of relationship any human can have. Spiritual, friendly, sexual, you name it, we've been there. Hey, I'm not embarrassed to say it. I think we are the friends that we are because we've kind of, put everything into being friends is the best connection.
Dana, what are you working at?
Marketing firm.
Oh, but what?
Well, I mean, it's not like a huge place. It's a small like consulting firm that does a lot of marketing, web development, and product development, and it has like a very like you were saying, like entrepreneurial kind of vision. So a lot of the people that work there have the liberty to, like, if they have some sort of idea or product or something they want to develop, they can always go to like the boss and pitch the idea, and if they like it, then the main people and investors will be like, we'll back you up, put together a strategy, marketing plan, and we'll help you develop it and launch it, basically. So,
How are the sales?
and I also have the liberty of being.
What method are y'all using to do that?
What? Sorry.
Websites?
Was I think the website is mahapartners.com. M-A-H. It's on my Facebook. You can just click on the link on there.
Yeah.
I've only been there for like a week and a half, so.
Well, I know that Drew and myself, Drew, typically Drew, but myself too. We actually one of the reasons we started this show is to help writers, copywriters, and young business people get ideas of how to grow as a person, promote their products, and even work with us to help them do that. So, do you know anything about copywriting? Dan?
Well, I mean, like, I don't know that much about it, but I know that we do have like a lawyer that's in charge of that whenever if there's something that needs to be looked into as far as a patenting or copywriting.
Oh, you mean no, not copywriting. Copywriting.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
It's a type of sales.
I had to do it in school. That's the reason why I switched from journalism and PR just to communication studies and research, because I don't like the whole writing part of communication. It's just not my thing.
Okay. Drew, how are you liking the actual writing that you've been doing for the last several months?
What's that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Are you enjoying the writing aspect? I know that you're newer to the writing field over the last year.
Yeah, I've always written kind of informally. Like I had a blog when I was like in high school, and I wrote a lot on it. And I always have liked writing, just kind of like not as a main thing until now. So I consider myself like a pretty good writer, at least moderately good. And something I heard Ryan Holiday say in an interview actually was that a lot of people think that writing, like the ability to craft words, is like the skill that you need to be a good writer. But his advice was that in order to be a good writer, you have to have interesting stories. So you have to have lived an interest. That's what actually makes a good writer. Like if you think about all like the best authors, they actually went out and lived interesting lives, right? Whether they were writing fiction or nonfiction.
But who exactly defines what an interesting life is?
Yeah, well, you can't sit at home and watch TV all day. That's not interesting. Like you want to go out and do interesting things that people don't usually do, or what I think that it depends on who you are, what the definition of interesting life is. It's whatever you think is interesting.
That's why I guess it goes back to my question of who defines what interesting is. You never know. Someone that's sitting in their couch watching TV, the fact like that's an action they're doing, but you don't know what's going on in their head.
Right, absolutely. But that's the question: is will they be able to write something that will be compelling?
Exactly. Maybe they will.
Maybe they will. It remains to be seen, I guess. I'm not saying that that's like a definite rule.
I actually started a romance, and I'm about 4,000 words in.
Well, I want to get a copy of that book when you're done. For free.
Yeah. So it's a romance. So the reason I agree with Drew is this: I was a writer for I started writing poetry and philosophy around the age of 16 up to like 18, maybe 19, and then I started working, and it took me like I went to college, obviously I wrote for rhetoric, I wrote papers, and it wasn't until now, 32, that my writing voice sort of was determined to just spill out. And I think it was because I knew I had lived so much life, and it was sort of like boiling up in me. I was like, the voice it was sort of like it needed to come out, like it just was boiling, boiling, boiling. And I think I attribute that to the interesting life, like Drew was saying. It's like at some point you're like, there's so much in me, I better just let it out and document it. And Diana knows. I think remember I used to write Facebook posts and stuff, Diana, and people would tell me you should write a book.
I remember.
So yeah, I wrote a book, and so it's like everyone. Well, Drew's a writer. I'm a writer. We actually named this writers. I think. And Diana, you're not a writer. Diana's what are you, Diana? You're a.
I don't even know what I am.
What are you doing at the marketing?
I am basically just being the Hispanic, like, intermedium kind of between the manager and the client, just because my Spanish is better.
Yeah.
100% better. So I'm basically translating the marketing strategy from English to Spanish, and a strategy
for the people that speak Spanish, the clients that speak Spanish.
Well, the thing is that our target market is basically Hispanic communities. Sorry, and the product that we're working with right now is basically just for Houston at the moment. So I'm going to be traveling like back and forth between Houston, because that's where like our biggest market and clients are, and the investors as well. But in the last like 2 months, the manager has gone to Houston, but because she doesn't have, like, first of all, she's never really worked with like Texas people, whether they're Hispanic or not. They've still lived in Texas a good amount of time. And so the fact that, one, I am originally from, well, I'm not from Texas, but I've lived there like 20 years, and that I speak Spanish also. So they, when I first went in for my interview, they liked the fact that I knew Spanish and that I was closely connected to like the Texas community and the people there, and I knew kind of how they worked with my background in the Chamber of Commerce and all that stuff. So I'm in charge basically of translating all the marketing strategies and marketing plans, and how, like, the sales pitches for the clients and the sales pitches for the customers. So
awesome. That sounds like a really good job.
Well, I'm since I just started, it's still like a 4th month like trial period, and then after that they will decide if they like the way I work and the way I work with like the bosses and my coworkers and all that stuff. But I'm so far I like it. And
what is the website? What is the website? The company again?
Maha Partners. The website is actually very basic, but mahapartners.com.
Well, there you go, Drew. I mean, we know about Maha Partners now. Maybe we can help them with their sales. Maybe we can help them grow as a company, because they probably need 2 writers. We could probably feature. We have one of their key.
Okay, you might be, because, like I said, it's a very like entrepreneurial kind of thing. So basically, like, there's 2 of my coworkers. Like, one of the girls is actually, she does like kind of, not beauty products, I guess, like lip balms and lip glosses, like in her kitchen in Brooklyn.
Excellent. Let's feature her on our next show. Let's bring her on to our next show.
I mean, I just met her like a week ago, so first she has to like be my friend before I come join my other 2 friends on this like hangout thing. But yeah, she's trying to start. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, first she needs to get it, like, they can't really start promoting anything yet because they haven't gotten like contracts like from their lawyers and like the patent and copyright issues and all that, so they can't really
for the lip balm
online yet. Yeah, like they need to get the name patented and the website and all that stuff. before they can really start putting anything out on the internet.
Right.
But like through Maha Partners, they're being able to kind of start their own company of lip balm and lip gloss, which is
Okay.
kind of cool.
Okay.
But like if I ever get
Okay, so
some
that's
sort of idea, I could
you said.
start, huh?
That was the process you said that they bring a product to the people, they pitch it, and then they say, okay, let's try it.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. And then somewhere along, what's the best product you have, or what's one of the biggest products you have?
Products?
Yeah, like or service. What's one of the
Well, 'cause they
products?
have, I mean, because I just started, like, I don't know, they have like a lot of different websites. Like they used to have this like TV show that was like like it was mainly targeted for women, and it was called Fem City, and it's supposed to have started as just women struggling in like a men dominated industry that kind of like the manager that was kind of on it before just dragged it into like this really weird, very like trashy sex talk show kind of deal that just it just didn't work.
It's like that scene, that line that goes, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, it like I was watching some of the episodes last week with the two other girls, and just everyone in the office just kind of concluded that it was trashy, like sex talk that just like no. And so they're kind of just like trying to rebuild that. The website's going to be taken down and completely redone. The host is going to be switched. But they are, I guess, one of the biggest products is they have like environment conscious cleaning things called Greenworks, but they're locally known. And one of like the bigger renowned, but also it's like just for the Hispanic market, is like a TV cable box, which is actually like the account that I'm on. And it's like kind of like the same box you get from like Time Warner Cable or like AT&T Free TV, but it only has channels from all over like Latin America. So it's purely like Spanish speaking channels that are supposed to, keep like Latinos and Hispanics that live in the United States connected to their home country. Or if they want to make sure that their kids are raised in a way where they know where they come from, they are able to speak the language, they are able to stay connected to the culture. This box offers like the channels and that availability for a very like a much lower price than paying for AT&T or it's basically $30 a month for like 300 channels from all over Latin America. So and it also has like on-demand movies and like radio, and it even like has its own like built-in karaoke machine. And this.
All right, that sounds really good. It sounds like you found like a really good fit for you.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to find that fit. So far I like it. Obviously, you never in any office where there's 8 women and 1 guy. There's bound to be some drama and bumps, but it's good.
Oh, it's 8 women and 1 guy.
Yeah.
Wow, that is the unique little mix.
Well, and then there's also like the boss and like the investors, like the upper. So I guess there's more men, but there are in the office like on a daily basis, 8 women and 1 guy.
Right. Well, what would you like to add about some of the stuff that we talked about, Stoicism, bringing value? Because one of the main reasons the show was created is to bring value to the viewers. Like, I'm really happy you're doing this because you're bringing this girl fresh out of college. You go to the big city after traveling beautiful parts of Thailand and all this stuff. You go to the big city. You go right up against it. You face all your fears. You stay. You yourself. Use stoicism because you stayed positive. You kept fighting. Finally, you get your job, and it's a good fit. What can you tell us about stoicism? And also, creating value because you clearly brought it. You clearly brought it to your new employers. So what can you tell us about value in today's society? Like me and Drew want to create value for our viewers. What can you tell us about value?
Well, I mean, it just like what exactly do you mean by value, though?
Okay.
Because there's like I mean, I sent you a text about it. Like, there's many different interpretations that you can have on value. If you're talking about money, if you're talking about like
I think it's all of the above. Yeah.
Well, it's just everyone has their own opinion of like what value means to themselves. Like my definition of value can be very different, like to yours, or like in my current workplace, what value is to them is very different to me, for the pure reason that I come from, like my background. It's first of all a really small town, like very close to the Mexican border, and my family. I think I don't really have to explain like value to me, because like a very conservative Catholic background, that whether I want to or not, it's always with me. So my definition of value like is strongly always rooted in like religion and morality, always trying to do the good thing, whether I 100% agree with it or not. I don't know. It's just
Okay. Well, for me, value. I'll give the ball to Drew here. For me, value is simple. It's just this. Okay, so you know what? If you, one of the reasons I like candles is because they're inspiring, right? So, like, one of the best, like, a simple way to create value is to say, these new candles at Walmart with the little wooden wick that's thick. It's like a thick wooden wick. They make a nice crackling sound. They smell great, and I think they add a good amount of value to inspiration. I like to light them when I write, as a form of spiritual inspiration. The light symbolizes my spirit, and so me sharing this is a way of sharing a sense of value. That's what value means to me. It could be, but it could also mean, hey, you know what? Check out my DJ tracks here. I just put these up. These are DJ tracks that I made. Enjoy them. So it could be anything, as much as it just holds a sense of value, and it's free. So these value could be, you could charge for it, but it's also, in a show like this, we want to create free value, just for the sense that people can feel that they can come to us for something worth something valuable for them. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that Diana was right when she said that it's different for everyone. And I think that's the reason that we select niche markets, you know, because what is valuable to one person might not be valuable to another person. But it's likely that what is valuable to one person is probably going to be valuable to a specific group of people who are like that person, which is why we select. This is why, I guess we're still in the process right now of looking for our niche of who will find what we have to say valuable, and like kind of do this dynamic process of finding the niche that we want to target, and then figuring out what they want and what they define as valuable.
I think that marketers, people that like marketing, because she's in marketing, I'm in marketing, you're in marketing, we're in writing. I think writers, marketers, book people, intellectual, we're like modern
Modern what?
modern hippies. That was a joke.
Maybe.
Well, I just think when it comes to value, it's something like, it's just like principles and just like the main ethical things that you like consistently throughout your life stay true to. Like, what truly is valuable to you won't change as you grow, because that's going to be like something that's deeply valuable for you, whether it's something that you were raised with, like whether it's related to like your moral upbringing. It's just as long as you know like where your ethics and morals are, that's like mainly where your value will be.
Well, you're talking about.
Well, just in general, like, I get not just me, like personally, like people.
Okay. Okay. Well, I hope that we brought some value to the viewers today, and I really liked some of the stuff, like the Stoicism stuff that Drew was talking about, was really good. Value in itself is such an elusive and simple concept. One of my mentors said, "Hey, you know what? What do you want to create?" And that simple sentence was value. And so I think it's a great sense to take away with everyone here today, the viewers, us here. What do you want to create? For Drew, myself, we thought, let's create this show. So to answer that, I'm really happy you got that job, Dana. And Drew, any thoughts? Any thoughts that you have to share before we go?
I don't have anything else right now. I think it was a good talk. I mean, I can expand on Stoicism if we find out that anyone wants to learn more about Stoicism, or, I mean, I have a bunch of other things. I like talking about NLP too. I can talk my ass off about NLP, so we can do that in the future. But
yeah, the next topic. Let's get into NLP a little bit more, and there's some cool stuff that me and you could probably test out. But yeah, NLP is a good one.
And I want to know, too, from anyone who is watching and wants to hear us talk about something related to being an entrepreneur or life hacking or,
Life hacking. Wait, briefly, what is life hacking? Is that when you trick your brain or you do something?
Well, there are many different kinds of life hacks. Like, just, it's tough to explain.
Okay. How about this? We pick up on life hacks on the next show that we talk about.
And also we'd also like people to give us suggestions for what to talk about so that we can find out what they find valuable.
Diana, anything from New York over there? I mean, we got Texas down here, we got Illinois over there, we got New York over there. We're everywhere.
Nothing that comes to mind right now. I just kind of came into this randomly, so I guess I'll think about it and I'll get back to you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna end this call here in this video conference, and then I'm just gonna afterwards just hang out a little bit, guys. I'm gonna just kind of video call you right back and just sort of touch base off the video. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how this works, so.
Don't worry about a thing.
Link and I'll just click.
All right. Everybody, viewers, Drew, Dana, been good. Have a great Saturday. Been awesome. Jacob Adams, Drew.
I didn't know you were pointing at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Diana. Bye, everybody.
Bye.